I argue asterisk at my wife's life, so I ruined everyone else's too. First and foremost TLDR. I'm done. Wife said I don't do and am not. Shh. Asterisk T in front of the therapist and family Father's Day dinner. She got served. She mad. She is trying to act perfect and I'm just waiting while taking care of my family, kids, my mom, and MIL. Oh well, I'll just ruin everyone else's life too in my family. Secondly, to clear some confusion, I did not get 2 bachelor's and a master's while working 2 jobs at the same time as some readers are assuming. Bachelor's number 1 graduated in the early 2000s. Bachelor's number 2 via online years, 2 classes a semester, later while working 2 full-time jobs. Job number 1 hospital 36-48 scheduled, job number 2 big box store 32 to 40 hours spread out 7 days a week, to pay for both my and my wife's tuition because she decided to go back to school before we had kids. After graduating from bachelor's number 2 and entering the industry I am in now, I was able to work 1 job and get my master's. So no, I did not get 3 degrees at the same time or in that close succession, and I am surprised that I actually have to spell this out as someone working 2 jobs while going to school. Isn't that uncommon? Or at least that's what I thought. My wife chooses not to work. She does technically have a job. She just barely works it to the point we forget she has a job. As in she worked one day 4 to 5 months ago for 8 hours on a Tuesday, kind of barely works. Her job and manager is really supportive, flex PRN model, and gives her a list of days they need coverage and she can choose to pick up a shift or not. While she can work more and only does just enough to keep up her license, she complains to our family of her career being on hold for one reason or the other, although she has the opportunity to work more if she opted to. All things considered, she has an available supportive circle around her for either decision she falls on. Our family, her job, and I have made multiple offers and taken many steps to open that door for her to go back to work, i.e. nanny, MIL moved in to help, I work from home, her crazy flex PRN schedule, etc. etc. But here we are. I am and have been in therapy for myself already. Aside from what I deal with at home, my work can be very debilitating in regard to my mental health as well as physical at times. Since I can't find the support I need mentally and physically at home with my wife, I've opted to attend therapy rather than find comfort with someone outside of the home or at the bottom of a bottle. I've tried to express this to my wife, and as mentioned in my previous post, she has a habit of one-upping me, and here we are. My in-laws are still married. Given the circumstances in our home, my MIL moved in to help out my wife, while my SIL and her family moved back into their parents' house due to their own reasons. SIL and her family can save money while getting back on their feet, and my wife and I benefit from MIL's help, and we can keep a closer eye on her while she undergoes bi-monthly treatments. My wife, by means of questionnaires, is highly suspected to have PPD alongside with a history of symptomatic OCD, ADHD, amongst other ailments that over the years she refused to get evaluated for or refused to accept results given. I knew what I was getting into, and I love and accepted my wife for these flaws as she did mine at the time. Spare me your, I don't feel sorry for you, or pity. I am like every other man who fell in love and wanted to give my person the best of me and the world I can offer. But again, here we are. There's a lot of manly men/red pill nation guys out there complaining and saying I'm simping over my wife. While I respect your own opinions and perspectives, I will outright say, if this situation was only affecting my life, I would have left a long time ago. As one Redditor said in a past comment that stuck to me, I am the kind of person that will take a bullet for his kids. Maybe it's in a different context intended, but to protect my children from any harm physically or mentally, I'll take the proverbial bullet if and as needed. I'd like to think other dads out there would respond to the duty to protect their children, and that's why I endured as much as I have. For the time being, I would rather my wife use me as an outlet for whatever her problems were versus our kids. Thank you all for the comments and reaching out. I've met many strangers who have become great Reddit pen pals, and some who have been in the know of every step that has been progressing to this point. I am surprised at how far this has gone, from other subreddits, other platforms, and even YouTube. Love me, hate me, say it's all fake. No matter where you stand, thank you for all the constructive comments and DMs to check in. Our kids and myself are going to be alright moving forward. Now for the update. The end of an era. This will be shorter than some expected, as really there's not much to say but just satiate the questions some of you may have had and give people the satisfaction of the "I told you so" moment on Reddit. After a hard push from our family via an intervention, my wife and I finally attempted to go to marriage counseling. I'm sure many of you can guess how well that went. Blame, tears, regrets, gaslighting, with a side of I am the reason for her life being ruined and horrible. Again. Just this time in front of a licensed therapist instead of Reddit or mom groups. In the end, everything the therapist suggested and noted went over her head and ignored as it was against the grain of her status quo. One thing I guess worth saying was the therapist asked if she could recall when she last truly felt happy. Her response was about 12 or so years ago. Please note, 12 years ago she was still in her 20s, childless, living with her ex. A vastly different time and position in life. I know it's petty of me, but I guess if that's when she was last happy, it wouldn't be that far of a stretch for her to find that happiness again since her ex is in the same apartment, job, and place in life that he was 12 years ago. Which is fine, if that's how you want to live life. I try not to judge, but in my 40s with kids, going clubbing 3 to 4 days a week is not my jam anymore. And of course, I don't want my kids around a mom and company who drowns themselves in White Claws. To add, I know some will ask, I know and can confirm she hasn't physically cheated on me but can't confirm if she did emotionally, if that's the right term. After said therapy session I checked all her phone records and didn't see anything out of the ordinary, but I also didn't bother to check apps like IG or Snapchat. I know I'm probably boring, but shout out to all the Costco dads whose Sunday Funday includes making rounds with kids for samples. The following weekend was Father's Day, and this year as expected not that big of a celebration as it is for many dads out there. Our family got together to celebrate with a barbecue and just simple family time, and my wife treated it like any other day. Sleep in, get up, cook, phone, shop, attempt to play with kids, phone. During said family barbecue my wife said she felt ill, so she sat around most of the day while the rest of the family as a whole made the experience enjoyable. When everything was set up and the family all sat at the table, her parents and sister's family, my mother, our kids, admittingly it was a great spread. Nothing extravagant, but just a great meal for everyone. I was conversing with my brother-in-law about both of our kids' school Father's Day activities, and I assume my wife overheard when I mentioned that it was a little sad to see some kids sit alone without their fathers during the breakfast with dad event I attended. She blurted out with a laugh loud enough for the whole room to hear, "It's not like you do anything anyway, I could have gone instead." At that moment I was red and at a loss for words, sitting there processing what she said in my head, while the dining room went dead silent. My MIL broke the awkwardness and in response said, "Well, maybe if you feel that way, one of you should divorce the other." My wife looked at my MIL confused that she would respond with that and laughed mockingly in my direction and with her hand pointing at me said, "As if another woman would want a man like him? Just look at you," while the room sat silent. I was angry, heartbroken, confused, and embarrassed all at the same time. In manly man fashion, I just nodded my head in silence, stood up, and picked up my keys and got in my truck and drove off to get a drink while trying to ignore the cries of the rest of the family and our kids telling me to stay. I don't know what was said or done while I was out of the house the rest of Sunday, because I couldn't bring myself to check our house cameras, but when I returned early Monday morning, the house had a completely different feel. As usual, I woke up around 6, got the house and our oldest ready for school drop-off, checked emails, checked messages, nothing out of the ordinary. As I was getting dressed to leave, my wife laid in our bed snoring lightly. All I could do was look at her and think of what we had, and now lost. I've decided. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I texted my lawyer that morning to move forward with serving her. Fast forward to last week, she was served at our home, reminder to people I had no choice but to be there because I work from home. She had, I guess what you could call a mini meltdown and came into my office screaming how could I do this to her. Her mother intervened, and that was met with me supposedly turning her whole family against her. But I digress. I probably would have felt bad if it wasn't immediately followed by the rest of her week acting as if she's been this active and attentive wife and mother the past few years. Sure, people can say she's making an attempt, but she's made many attempts, and historically we fall back to where we've been. For those curious, I am aiming for full or at least majority custody of our kids. I already and will continue to cover all the expenses for our kids, insurance, tuition, both of our kids will be attending private schools come fall, medical bills, etc. My MIL has given me the courage and strength that helps supplement my own mother's support throughout this. Basically, she is what I hoped the kind of mother/wife my wife would have been to our kids and me. Out of respect for my MIL as well as per my own mother's shared wishes, I will continue to help oversee and contribute financial help if needed during her treatments. While some may feel I should cut their whole family off, I know the hardships pushed onto a family while dealing with cancer and have dealt with it firsthand as a family member and care provider on both sides of the desk. All in all, I'm prepared to go to war, if needed, but I just want a clean no-fuss divorce. My wife has no alimony coming, so sorry for the Redditors and mommy gang Facebook groups saying she needs to divorce me first and get that as sweet alimony money. 1. We live in a state that does not typically enforce alimony. 2. She has a means of gainful employment immediately. 3. To help curb any possible problems, I will cover her insurance and bills until either divorce is finalized or when she gains full employment. So that's that. I'm done and waiting for the steps to be taken for everything to be finalized. Sorry it wasn't as exciting of a story with plot twist as some may have hoped for, but that's life. Not sure I'll update this once it's all finalized, which probably won't be for a few more months depending if we go to a war or not.